Hi guys, thanks so much. My name is Kimberly and I am a recovered alcoholic. It's good to be here. It's super good to be sober. Thank you
No,
for
you're not.
inviting me. I'm very sober. Um,
Cap.
so I say that I'm recovered as it's on our title page. You know, it says we are recovered 23 times in our big book. It says that we recover 28 times, and it says recovering 2 times.
27.
And so, you know, when I came into the program and I would hear people that said that they were recovered or recovering, I didn't believe them, and I certainly didn't like the word. But 2 years into the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I was taken through the big book in a different way, and I learned what it meant to be recovered and that I'm never going to be cured. And my opinion on the matter changed. A little bit about myself. I grew up on the east coast of Canada. I live on the west coast of Canada now. I am a lone mom of three. I'm not a single parent. My ex-husband passed away from his addiction in 2018, making me a lone parent. I'm the only parent my kids have now. I grew up with a single mom. My parents got divorced when I was 10, and I was displaced and moved across the country. And I started going to a new school my first year of junior high. And I didn't know anybody. I didn't have friends. And that's kind of where I started to have the feelings that carried into my adulthood, where I felt alone. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I didn't fit in. And those feelings kind of never went away. I never felt like I was worthy of any love, and I was always seeking outside of myself to fit in. I was a chameleon. No matter where I went, I fit in. I adapted to my surroundings really, really good. So if I was with the athletic kids, I was athletic. If I was with the academic kids, I was an academic. You know, I always morphed to be whoever I was with. Um, if I had a boyfriend, I liked what my boyfriend liked. So I've liked country music. I've liked heavy metal music. I've been to a ZZ Top concert and I rocked along with ZZ Top because I always wanted to fit in. I never felt like I had an identity unless I was part of something other than myself. I never had that identity as me. I was somebody's daughter. I was somebody's sister. I was somebody's girlfriend. And then I became somebody's mom. I never was just Kim. I was always Kim the or Kim so and so something. Um, and it was hard. I never felt like I had a place. I found alcohol when I was 16, and instantly I absolutely loved it. Right? I felt like I was part of. I felt prettier. I felt taller. I felt more confident. I felt like I was prettier to the boys, and I loved it, and I wanted more. So alcohol became a mainstay. I had a fake ID. I went to bars. The drinking age in Canada is 19, and I was going to bars at 17, 18. And I think I was already an alcoholic before I even was allowed to legally drink alcohol in a bar. I graduated high school with honors with a full scholarship, but decided that I liked the life in the fast lane better than going to college, and I ended up getting pregnant and settling down to go to community college and working at the mall part-time. I always looked up to other people that had fancy things, and so I wanted to know how they had the life they had and what they were doing to have these fancy things. You know, they had the expensive purses, they had expensive cars, they had fancy boyfriends, and they got to go all kinds of neat places. And I wanted to be like them because I didn't have me. I didn't know who I was. I had no identity. So I had a roommate in college, and she seemed to have everything I wanted. So I wanted to be her. And well, she was an exotic dancer. And so I said, well, I'm going to try being an exotic dancer. And that is when in like the big book, it describes Bill as saying, I had arrived. Like I had arrived. Let me tell you, people wanted to know my name. People were, you know, chasing me all over the place. I became larger than life, and I felt like that was that, right? That was the next 10 years of my life. I dated high profile people. And so that was my identity. This is my partner. I was the arm candy of whichever high profile person I was dating in my 20s. And again, still no identity. I had a fake identity in my dancing name, and I became that persona. That was the girl I had always wanted to be, but it still wasn't me. It was that character I was playing on stage. And I resented that. I started doing harder drugs later in my 20s, and I became a main stage in the party scene of Vancouver. I would fly to fancy places and attend amazing parties. I once was at the Playboy Mansion. No idea how I got there or what happened, but there's pictures. I was there, and no idea how I got home, how I got back across the border. Just a blur. I ended up meeting the man of my dreams in a strip bar, and he was Mr. Wonderful, and we were gonna, leave the life behind and settle down and have a white picket fence and a family, and life was gonna be great. I had graduated from university. We both had really great union jobs, and so, here, I'm done with that life. That was just a phase. There was nothing wrong with anything I had done, but I was ashamed. I'm now working in corporate Canada. I'm climbing my way up the corporate ladder, and I thought, I can't let anybody know about my past. So I had this shameful, dark secret that I was always scared someone was going to find out about. Or, I was going to walk into a boardroom and someone was going to recognize me. And it was always this cloud that followed me around everywhere I went. I had the secret and I didn't want anybody to know. And it was a weight. It was a big weight. At home, my home life looked perfect from the outside. We both had amazing careers. No one knew about our pasts. We had it all. We had $1 million home. We had big fancy cars in the driveway, a boat in the garage, and my partner worked in airlines, so we got to travel a lot. So everything on the outside looked amazing, but behind closed doors, there was darkness. Our weekends were spent drinking. Entire paychecks went to booze and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol, sorry. And nobody had a clue we had this problem. We had 2 beautiful children. I had an older daughter by then, and everything just seemed to be wonderful. But it was dark. It was really dark. Domestic violence is part of my story. And my husband had a workplace injury and couldn't work. So I became the breadwinner, which caused even more destruction in home because my husband had a big resentment against me because I was bringing home the bacon and he was at home and he felt like less of a man. So he took that out on me. And it got really bad to the point where my kids would sleep in bed with me at night while he raged in the living room to protect me from him coming in and waking me up and beating me. But that still wasn't reason enough for me to leave. No, that was reason for me to go to my doctor and make up lies and say that I had anxiety and I was going to be flying, so I needed pills to help me with my flying anxiety. And I started abusing all sorts of prescription drugs day in, day out. So I had a cycle of wine, cocaine, and prescription pills. And that was how I got through my day. It was always medicated, something other than myself, because I was living in a pit of hell. How bright it is before the dawn. One day my son started acting like my husband. And my son started to treat me the same way he'd watched his dad treat me. And that was my bottom. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm leaving. I didn't think I had a problem with drugs and alcohol. I thought I had a problem with a bad husband. And I was going to leave and life was going to get great and everything was going to be wonderful. So I left with just the shoes on my feet and the clothes on my back out the side garage, and I was going to start my new life. And I was going to be happy, joyous, and free. Problem was, now I had new excuses to drink and use drugs. I was lonely. I didn't have my kids half the time, so now I had no identity. I was nobody's wife. I was nobody's mom. I was by myself for a whole week. So I started going to the casino because I couldn't be alone. I couldn't be in my own skin. I was so uncomfortable with who I am, and I didn't have a clue that I was filling it with, gentleman friends and time at the casino and drugs and alcohol because I was lost, just completely lost. I found a new solution, and by the grace of God, it was a sober man. It wasn't my solution, but it was my way into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. He had been sober for 3 years, and unbeknownst to me, was on his ways out of the rooms apparently dating a girl with a drug and alcohol problem is a big red flag that you're about to relapse. But I didn't know that because I was so oblivious to what was going on around me that I thought this was great. This is my solution. Meanwhile, I'm at Chuck E. Cheese on a Sunday afternoon because my sober boyfriend is at home and I can't drink around him. And I'm at Chuck E. Cheese getting loaded while my kids play games. And I'm going into the bathroom and doing whatever I'm doing in the bathroom. And then driving home, spraying perfume on myself and chewing gum so nobody knew I was drinking at Chuck E. Cheese in the middle of a Sunday afternoon. My partner at the time's relapse was really bad. And a few members of Alcoholics Anonymous swooped in. And they 12-stepped him back into the rooms and got him into a detox center and a treatment, which brought me into recovery. I was the good codependent girlfriend, so I was going to treatment to visit him, and I was going with him to meetings, and I started going to Al-Anon, and I sat in the rooms of Al-Anon, and I was like, I don't have a clue what's going on here. This doesn't make any sense. So he's like, well, come with me to a meeting. He knew I had a problem. I didn't know I had a problem. I sat in my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and someone called my name, and I said, oh, no, I'm not part of this. I'm not like you people. I'm just here because he has a problem. Thank you very much. I'm just going to sit here and support my partner. 10 minutes later, God has a sense of humor, and I heard my story word for word. And I realized, holy crap, I have a problem with drugs and alcohol. And I had my life flash before my eyes, and I realized each and every time that my life had been completely a mess, that was the reason why. And I started to listen. I was only listening with one ear because in the other side of my brain, I was like panicked if they ever called on me, what I would say. And I went to 3 meetings that week with him, and each meeting I heard something new, and I wanted it. I was like, okay, so there's something going on here that I need to pay attention to. And so the one day finally I was asked to share at the beginning of a meeting, and I stood up like I was at a business meeting and needing to share something at work. And I said, Kim, my name is Kim and I'm an alcoholic. And it was like the weight of the world had finally been released from my shoulders. I felt like 1,000 times lighter just by saying those simple words. My name is Kim and I'm an alcoholic. And I felt for once that my life made sense and that I had an identity. Not the identity I thought I would have or that I thought I ever wanted to have, but it was the one that finally made sense to me. And so I started going to that meeting every Wednesday night because it was the one that made me feel very comfortable. And it was a little small meeting. It was a topic and discussion meeting with a lot of old timers, and I called them my grandpas and grandmas. And the 10 of us would sit around a table and talk about the daily reflections every week, and I had no idea what was going on. I sat in that room for 6 months without a big book, without a sponsor, with absolutely no clue, but I didn't pick up a drink, and I came back every week because that's what they told me. Kid, keep coming back. Kid, keep coming back. That meeting hadn't seen a newcomer in probably 5 years, and it was just by accident that I showed up, and they were so thrilled I was there, and they're like, kid, keep coming back, and they were so excited that I kept coming back, and I was kept sober, but really inside I was dying because I had lost my solution. So I had gained an identity, so I knew I was an alcoholic. I didn't understand what it meant to be an alcoholic, but I felt better without alcohol, but my mind was still crazy. I was chasing cars, screaming at my boyfriend down the street. Like, it was insane. But life was getting better, so I knew I was onto something. I just had no direction. My boyfriend started slipping away from Alcoholics Anonymous at 6 months sober, so of course I did too. He filled my head with nonsense and bad things about the program because he had resentments against the program from all his years, and I believed him. So I strayed away, but I remained sober. And on my 1 year, my girlfriends took me for a reset party in Palm Springs because I was a good girl and I'd stayed sober for a year, and I didn't want to drink. I was scared of feeling like shit and having a hangover, so I didn't pick up that weekend. I was like, you know what? I actually like being sober. I had every intention of drinking that weekend, and I didn't. I came home and he had drank. He had relapsed, and my life looked different. And I stood at that turning point, and I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go out. Screw this. I stayed sober for him. This isn't worth it. He cheated on me. He lied to me. Stole from me. I'm out. I'm out. This is all for nothing. I'm gone. And I got in my car, and I was on my way to the bar. I was going to drink. That was it. I was done. My phone rang. By the grace of God, someone I had known for 5 years, who I never knew was in Alcoholics Anonymous, who had seen me in some meetings, called and said, I haven't seen you around in a while. Are you still sober? And I was bawling. I'm like, I'm on my way to the bar right now. I just celebrated a year and I'm done. Life's gotten hard. I had no tools in my toolbox. I had no clue how to live life sober, and my life had fallen apart. And he said, well, so-and-so is taking 27 years tomorrow at our home group. You should come. Those guys miss you. They've been asking about you. And I didn't pick up. I went to that home group the next day, and it saved my life. For the first time, I said, and I got honest, and I said, I don't have a clue what I'm doing, and I need help. I'm sober, but I don't have a clue what is going on. And the guy started to love on me and to tell me a little bit more what to do. I went to a meeting the next day, and it was Sunday. And I sat behind a girl in the second row of a meeting. I'd never sat in the second row, and I just started bawling my eyes out when she said hello. And she says, what's going on? I'm like, I need to get these tools. Can somebody help me? And she goes, yeah, for sure. My name's Brooke. We have a step group on Thursday. You should come. And I was like, what the heck is she talking about? And I was like, okay, these steps, yeah, I've read them on the wall for the past 14 months, but I have no idea what they meant. So I got into a step group, and we sat around every Thursday for the next 6 months, and we read the big book, and we shared about our feelings, and everything was wonderful. And I had a sponsor, and I was like, this is great. I'm doing so well now. I get it. And I'm like, I did my steps. All right, give me a sponsee. I'm ready to go. But still, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I was like, yep, step 1, got it, check, let's keep going. Step 2, yeah, all right, I'll believe in God. Check, let's go, keep going, this is awesome, I'm doing my steps, woohoo. Step 3, yeah, okay, I'm ready, yeah, God can be in charge, for sure, let's do it, check. Step 4, I'm going to write a bunch of people that I don't like and they've pissed me off. Yeah, sure, okay, I did my step 4, all right, I'll tell you all the people who did me wrong. Check. Step 5, I told her all the people that did me wrong, and she co-signed that bullshit. Check step 5. All right, we're coasting now. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I'll pray every day. All right, good. Keep it up, keep it up. Good going, kid. You got this. And off I went. I did my set of steps. Got my gold star, away I went. I had a sponsor that was co-signing every frigging thing I did, and I still had no clue. And there I went. Next 6 months, off I go. Pray, pray. I'm like, I'm praying. I'm still sober, so I think I'm doing everything right. Life seems to be good, but guess what? It's not. I was still dying. I was still not treated. I was not working this program, but I thought I did a set of steps. And then I thought I was going to help somebody, so I took them to a different meeting because he needed to meet new people, and I knew what he needed. And all right, let's go. Well, God has a sense of humor once again, and I sat my butt in a chair, and I started hearing people talk about the solution of Alcoholics Anonymous. And they were so excited that I was just like, whoa, what are they doing? I read that book. I did my steps, but that didn't happen to me. And I was like, I'm missing something here. And I'm a very intelligent girl, so I was like, I got to investigate this a little more. So I started going to that meeting every Saturday night because I was like, there's something here that I haven't seen before, and I want it. I'm curious. Like, these people are on fire. I want to get to know these people. So I sat in that room for 6 months, and I started listening, and I was like, ooh, yeah, this is good. And I started telling people back in my community. I was driving 40 minutes to get to this meeting at this point. And I was like starting to like, I said, I'm going to this meeting on Saturday night, and they're so excited. They're doing the steps, and all my social, suburban, middle of the road recovery people thought I was nuts. They're like, oh, those big book thumpers. Yeah, you got to stay away from them. And I was like, what? I'm like, they seem really awesome. I'm like, I'm curious. And so one day after the meeting, I went up to the scariest woman in the room, and I'm like, hey, you know these steps you're talking about? I'm like, you're doing them different. Can I do it? She's like, oh yeah, you want to do a rapid set of steps? And I'm like, yeah, I want to try it. And that woman made me a date to start my rapid set of steps. She goes, call me on Wednesday and we'll get started. I'm like, awesome. The next day, my husband died. We were legally separated. My kids lost their dad. I tried calling my middle of the road suburban sponsor at 5 a.m. after I got the news, and she didn't answer her phone. So I didn't know what to do, but I knew I was supposed to call someone because I didn't know what to do. So I called this girl that I'd never talked to before that I was supposed to call on Wednesday, and she picked up her phone at 5 a.m. and she saved my life. And she said, you know, kids, sometimes God can't help them on earth, so he brings them home. and I had found an answer for what I needed to tell my kids about how their dad died. And I finally believed that there was God. And I was like shown this little step, and I was like, whoa, this program works. And she called me later that day, and she said, do you still want to start your steps? She's like, I don't know if it's a good time. I said, no, you know what? I think it's a good time. Like, I need to do this. So the same 2 weeks I was grieving my 12-year marriage and my husband passing away, I started a full, thorough set of steps as written in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was taken through how it works, and I was shown that honest is in the first paragraph of chapter 5 3 times. Kind of important for me to get honest. And I was walked through the steps, and I was explained step 1. These steps are actions, not check marks. I was explained that I have a malady of the mind, which makes it that I can't stop drinking even when I wanted to stop. How many times have I had sat in my room and said, I am never doing that again. I am never drinking again. I am never going to do that ever, ever, ever. And yet I would find myself drinking each and every time. Or I was only going to go have 1 glass of wine with dinner, just 1. And then 2 days later, I had spent my entire rent and I had no money, and I didn't know how I had drank 2 bottles of tequila, and why I didn't pick my kids up for Christmas because I was blacked out on the floor. It made sense to me that I was an alcoholic, and I understood the phenomenon of craving. So I put that actual check mark beside step 1, and that check mark's never faded. My step 1 is as solid as the foundation in my building I'm sitting in right now. There is not a crack in it. And if there is, I'm going to call someone and get that step 1 again, because that is the number 1 thing that changed my life. And then I got step 2, action, 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 action. Step 3, where I didn't just say, yeah, okay, I'll put God in charge. I understood what it meant to walk in the light and live in love and light and carry a message of depth and weight and help other people to get out of self. Because I am selfish. And the only way I can get out of self is by serving God. Because I'm putting other people before myself. I did a thorough step 4, where I didn't look at all the people who had hurt me. I look at how I had made choices based on fear and insecurity that caused me to make shitty decisions, which brought shitty situations in my life, which made me hate people that I had no business hating. Because I was the one who invited them into my life in the first place. And holy crap, did my perspective change. And I was able to free myself of all of that in my step 5 with my sponsor. And then I started to do step 6 and 7, which step 6 and 7, if someone ever tells you they're working on step 6 and 7, you better ask them if they're praying, because there's no work to be done in step 6 and 7 other than praying for the defects you've learned about in your 4-5. So step 6, I pray for the willingness to be rid of these problems. And in step 7, I pray that they're taken away from me. So I better get praying and praying and praying. And I prayed. I prayed for 8 months straight. I said the step 3 prayer and the step 7 prayer every morning, noon, and night. I had it taped to the mirror when I brushed my teeth. Prayer was the key to my growth. I did my step 8, 9. I became willing and able to make every amends possible. Not because I wanted to be free and I had to go do them. You want to be free, go do your amends? No. I want to do my amends because I want to be connected to God. I don't want to have anything blocking me. This has nothing to do with me. I want to make right all the wrongs I had done so that I can get a good connection with my source, because that's who's guiding my light right now. And I need to carry that light in step 10, 11, and 12 and constantly check myself. I'm almost 4 years sober, and I got off the phone with my sponsor because I just did a sex inventory because I'm getting into a new relationship, and I want to make sure that I'm on the right track and my motives are good and my intentions are good. And so I'm constantly doing a personal inventory each and every day and correcting myself if I stray, because that's how I stay God-centered. I pray, I meditate. God is hardwired. I have my favorite prayer is, God, I am so stupid. Please make it simple for me, because I am stupid and I'm stubborn and I get distracted. And so God knows that, and he makes sure that he makes himself known if he's not being paid attention to. And so I'm always right-sized. I serve God in my step 12, and I'm maximum service to my fellows. Not because I want the conscious contact with God, but because I want everybody to have what I have. You know, the difference in my life today from 4 years ago, from 2 years ago when I found the solution halfway through my journey in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's so amazing that I can't stop. Like this fire, it burns inside of me. This God presence inside of me is just bursting out because it's so good. It's like when you go see a movie and you're like, oh my God, the movie was so good. I'm like the biggest Yelp review for God out there. I'm like, this program and God changed my life. Like, I am happy, joyous, and free. I have got this utter confidence that comes from working this program and being free of all my past. I no longer walk in shame. I am proud of all of the things that have been occurred in my life because I can see how they're helpful to other people. You know, there is not one thing in my life that I have had happen to me or I have done that hasn't come up and been a reflection when I've been working with others. And so I'm able to say, yeah, that happened to me too. And they're like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, way. And we're able to talk about it and to free ourselves from the negative emotions and the shame. And I am proud to say that my name is Kim and I am an alcoholic. And I shout it from the rooftops, both in the rooms and out of the rooms, because I'm a beacon of light. I couldn't carry this message to my ex-husband. I couldn't carry this message to a few of my friends. So it's important that I carry this message now. I didn't have my light back then, but I have it now, and I can't ever let it dim because this light is what attracts people to this program. And it's what gives us the hope that we need to be willing and open-minded to accept it. If nobody ever gave me hope in a room of Alcoholics Anonymous, I wouldn't be sitting here today happy, joyous, free, and sober. You know, I would still be dying inside. So I am so grateful for the opportunity to share my love of Alcoholics Anonymous and my sobriety with you. And I thank you all for being here.